Have you ever had one of those days where you wake up feeling completely revitalized, just buzzing with energy, ready to conquer the world?
Oh, absolutely.
And then other days, you're just dragging yourself out of bed. Every little task feels like a mountain, and your brain is just foggy.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
It really feels like there's some kind of, I don't know, invisible force maybe, dictating not just physical energy, but like mental clarity, your emotional state. Okay, let's maybe unpack this a bit.
That's a perfect way to start, actually, because what you're noticing, that feeling, it leads us straight into the core idea for today's deep dive. This concept of prana,
Prana. Right.
often translated as life force. And
Yeah.
according to the source material we're looking at today, prana is, well, fundamentally what makes a body alive. Without it,
Just matter.
exactly, just a heap of physical matter. That's why living beings are called prani. It literally means one who has prana.
Ah, okay.
And you might even recognize related terms like pranavayu, which we often connect to oxygen, or maybe
The
pranayama.
breathing exercises, yeah.
Precisely. Exercise is focused on controlling this very life force.
Gotcha. And so our deep dive today, it's based on this really fascinating document. It's titled lifeforce.pdf. And it goes into how prana impacts, well, pretty much every single aspect of our
It's
existence.
quite comprehensive.
Yeah. So our mission really is to kind of pull back the curtain on what prana actually is, how it functions, in our bodies, our minds, and maybe the surprising ways it connects to our daily well-being, hopefully giving us some insights into why we feel the way we do sometimes.
And its role is incredibly pervasive, according to this text. It's essential for just fundamental bodily processes. Think digestion, the formation of all our body tissues.
All of them.
Yeah, the source lists everything: juice, blood, flesh, fat, bones, marrow, semen, vitality, even luster, and of course, getting rid of waste, excretion.
Okay, so the basic building blocks and functions.
Right. But it doesn't stop there, at the physical level. Prana is said to govern all our activities, both gross and subtle. So getting up, sitting, walking, speaking, but also thinking, contemplation, memory, even meditation.
Wow, okay. That's broad.
It is. The document uses a neat analogy, actually. Like a computer needs both hardware and software to do anything.
Hmm.
Well, all functions of the body fundamentally depend on prana shakti life force power.
Okay, so if prana is this foundational energy, almost like the operating system and the power source for our bodies,
Mhm.
what happens when that power source is, low or maybe even overflowing?
That's exactly where the document goes next. It
Yeah.
describes two very distinct states.
Okay.
Let's maybe start with the implications of what it calls pranaheen, low prana.
Pranaheen. Okay, and it paints quite a picture, you said.
It really does. When prana is low, the consequences are, well, profound. They affect both physical and mental well-being pretty heavily. Body parts, organs, senses, the mind, heart, intellect, they all become sluggish, kind of diseased.
Sluggish. Okay, how so?
Well, specifically, the mind becomes lazy, prone to procrastination, feels uncontrolled. The heart can become depressed, anxious. The source even mentions a tendency towards suicidal thoughts.
Wow, that's serious?
Very. And the intellect suffers too, becoming, the text says, crooked, unrighteous, dull. But what's really striking, I think, is the interpersonal effect it describes.
What do you mean?
It says being near people who are prana depleted can literally drain your own energy, making them seem like, well, the living dead almost, even if they're physically alive. It suggests this low vitality is sort of contagious.
That's quite a sobering description of low prana, affecting not just the person, but everyone around them too. So
Yeah.
does that mean abundant prana, parpur prana, as you called it,
Mm-hmm.
has an equally potent, maybe positive contagion?
Exactly. That's the flip side. And the effects are described as completely transformative. When prana is abundant, the body becomes strong, active, the
Yeah.
mind controlled and brave. The heart becomes patient, enthusiastic, lively, and the intellect turns positive, honest, righteous, wise.
So just better all around.
Well, yes, but it's more than just a list of good traits. It seems to set off this cascade of benefits. Increased prana leads to increased courage. The document calls it atmabal,
Amabal, courage.
which then boosts confidence, manobal. From there, your willpower strengthens, that's sankalp shakti and icha shakti, and that fosters discipline, anushasan.
Okay, so it builds on itself.
Right.
Prana, courage, confidence, willpower, discipline.
Precisely. It's presented as this powerful upward spiral. Discipline then leads to achieving goals, increased capability. It's quite a system.
So it's not just about feeling good then. It's framed as this foundational energy that can systematically build self-mastery. and help you actually achieve things.
That's the idea presented, yes.
Yeah.
A blueprint for transformation linked directly to this life force.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. And it's prana isn't like a fixed amount you get. The
Yeah.
document says the quantity differs, right?
Yeah.
In every living being, person, place.
That's right. More prana, more alive. Less prana, more inert. Which, as you said, means our environment becomes really crucial. Well, the source really emphasizes the influence of environment and association. Being near prana-rich people, it increases your own prana.
Okay.
Being near prana-deficient people, it causes your prana to decrease. It suggests individuals can actively increase or even destroy their own prana based on their actions.
Based on.
Where they live, who they live with, how they live, what they eat, what they do. It's all interconnected.
Right. So people lacking prana would struggle more with goals and things.
That's what it says.
Wow.
Both worldly and spiritual goals become harder to achieve. But conversely, being in the presence of someone who is prana-rich, that brings enthusiasm, inspiration, positivity, joy. It actually increases your prana.
This almost sounds like a practical guide for living a more, I don't know, vibrant life.
Yeah.
Which naturally leads to the question, where do we find this high prana? And what specifically drains it?
Mm-hmm.
The document kind of maps it out, doesn't it? Like a guide. Let's start with the good stuff. The Pranavan, sources of high prana.
Okay. So in humans, it points to people like saints, pious women, selfless devotees, celibates, people living a very simple life.
Okay.
The source claims that even just being near such people for a short time can fill your body with prana, dispel negativity, stress, depression, even those darker thoughts we mentioned.
Wow. And animals.
Predominantly, herbivores are listed as prana-rich. Cows are mentioned as having the highest prana. It actually brings up cow-hugging therapy.
Really? Cow hugging?
Yeah, apparently practiced in some Western countries now, using that proximity to reduce anxiety and depression.
Okay. And places. Where do we find prana-rich environments?
Think temples, rivers, pilgrimage sites, fields, barns, gardens, forests. Basically green, natural environments with sunlight, vegetation.
Makes sense. Nature.
Right. And it makes an interesting observation. People working in villages and fields, it says, rarely experience depression or anxiety, even when facing difficulties.
That is interesting. It highlights that immediate, almost therapeutic effect of being around these prana-rich people and places. So we've covered environment association, but what about what we actually put into our bodies? Food must be key.
Oh, absolutely critical according to this source. Food is a major factor.
So what kind of foods are high in prana?
Sunlight itself is mentioned, rainwater, natural water sources like rivers, seas, wells, fresh vegetables and fruits, especially those grown with care.
Fresh and natural.
Yes, and it specifically emphasizes raw vegetables and fruits have more prana. Processed junk food, artificial juices, meat, eggs, those are considered prana deficient.
Okay, that distinction between raw and processed is clear. Anything else about food?
Yes, and this is crucial. Food cooked without sunlight or fresh air is also seen as lacking prana. It connects this to ancient Ayurveda, which apparently viewed food cooked without pure sunlight, air, or fire as akin to poison.
Wow. Without sunlight or fresh air, like indoor cooking often is.
Exactly. It contrasts this with restaurant food, often seen as less beneficial, versus traditional methods where even poorer farmers might cook outdoors, benefiting from sun and fresh air, and were considered healthy.
That's a really thought-provoking point about cooking.
Yeah.
It makes you rethink the whole process. Okay, let's flip it. What about the sources of low prana, pranaheen? Where do we lose this energy?
All right. In humans, it points to individuals characterized by qualities like laziness, addiction, anger, lust, greed, delusion, desire, deceit, duplicity. Basically negative traits. Being near them leads to negativity, mental drain.
Okay, the opposite of the saints and simple living folks.
Precisely. For animals, it lists dirty animals like pigs, buffaloes, donkeys. Also carnivorous animals, cats, dogs, lions, and crawling animals like snakes, lizards. Generally, smaller animals are said to have less prana than larger ones.
Interesting distinction. And places, where are the low prana zones?
Dead environments, it calls them. Crematoriums, places without vegetation or animals, but then it specifically lists many modern environments. Corporate offices, big malls, cinemas, theaters, clubs, bars, casinos. It notes that people working in corporate offices, for example, are often prone to stress and addiction.
Oof, that hits close to home for many, I bet.
And it doesn't stop there. Artificial light tube lights, bulbs, TVs, computers, mobile screens, artificial air fans, coolers, AC, even fake decorative plants are mentioned as contributing to low prana.
It's quite a map of prana in the modern world, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see those lists.
Yeah.
The places we work, relax. It does make you reconsider daily choices. And then diet again. What foods specifically deplete prana, according to this?
Right. So tap water and bottled water are listed. Meat, fish, eggs explicitly called dead food, stale food. Vegetables chopped too, finally, interestingly. Highly processed food, of course. And again, food cooked in darkness or without fresh air.
It's a pretty direct challenge to many modern dietary staples and habits.
It definitely is.
And this all brings us to a really critical point the document makes, doesn't it? About the modern lifestyle itself and what it's doing to our prana. This next bit really resonated with me, tackling that big question.
Yes, it argues quite strongly that our modern lifestyle is gradually depleting our prana. Why? Because we're increasingly disconnected from those prana-rich places, people, animals, and food sources we just talked about.
Is connected, right?
And this creates a kind of vicious cycle, especially with mental health. When people feel depressed or anxious, where do they often seek relief? Maybe clubs, casinos, cinemas, places the document identifies as prana deficient.
So they're trying to feel better in places that actually drain them further.
Paradoxically, yes, according to this perspective. And the document is quite direct about modern medicine, too. It suggests that medical science often lacks this concept of prana entirely.
So treatments might miss the root cause.
That's the claim. Going to, say, prana-deficient hospitals, taking prana-deficient medicines. It might ease external symptoms for a while, but it doesn't address the underlying lack of prana, which this source sees as the real issue behind things like depression and anxiety. They aren't just diseases to be cured by medicine alone, in this view.
So the true remedy is?
Replenishing the body's prana. The source's advice is very clear. If you're suffering from depression or anxiety, adopting practices aligned with prana-rich sources, the places, foods, people we discussed, will lead to improvement, potentially from day one.
That's a bold claim. It even offers a kind of historical take on why things like depression and anxiety seem so much more prevalent now, doesn't it?
It does. It links the global increase in recent decades directly to the modern lifestyle and the Industrial Revolution, disconnecting us from that vital life force that was perhaps more readily available in natural settings, like living closer to fields and barns.
It's a stark reminder, really, how far we might have drifted from sources of, well, inherent vitality. And how fundamental this idea could be to understanding our current well-being.
It really frames it as a central issue.
So what does this all mean then? We've done this deep dive into prana, this life force concept. And it seems like a really profound, pervasive idea influencing everything. Energy levels, mental state, emotions.
Yeah.
It feels less like just an ancient theory and more like a practical lens, maybe, to view our own lives, our daily choices.
I think that's a good way to put it. The core message seems to be that our overall health, our happiness, it's deeply intertwined with the quantity and maybe the quality of our prana.
Right.
And understanding that really urges you to think, doesn't it? About the real impact of what you eat, where you spend your time, who you spend it with.
Definitely. It makes you proud. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. As you go about your day-to-day, just consider what's maybe one small conscious choice you could make to invite more of this vital life force into your world. Perhaps that path to feeling more vibrant isn't about complicated cures after all, but more about these simple everyday connections. Finding ways to tap into the prana that, according to this, is already all around us.